Providing insights to help you grow your business, improve yourself, and add value to those around you. You're listening to the Success is a Choice podcast, where you get a peek into the lives of industry leaders as they share their stories with you.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Success is a Choice podcasting network. We have a really special guest for you today because we are going to be talking cupcakes. Who doesn't like cupcakes? We're also going to be talking success. Who doesn't like success? And maybe a little bit of money. Who doesn't like money? So without further ado, let's bring on Mignon Francois. She is the founder of the Cupcake Collection. She's also the author of a brand new book made from scratch. Mignon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Well, we're excited.
You
to
already
have
started
you.
hyping me up, so I think I'm gonna leave here pumped.
Hey, we're excited to have you because, like I said, who doesn't like cupcakes? And you are the cupcake queen. Now, I want to just dive right into this because some people maybe have even had your cupcakes, because we have a lot of people from Tennessee that watch or listen to this show. But I want to just dive right into your story. You were down to like your last $5 is the rumor on the street.
Yeah.
That's according to this nice book that you just wrote. You were down to $5 and you turned that into multi-million-dollar cupcake business. What's the secret recipe? How'd you do that?
I was drowning in debt and brokenness. I was losing everything that I had, including the house where the Cupcake Collection exists today. I believe that we figured out how to listen to the Holy Spirit. There was a guy on the radio who was telling people that they could get out of debt by having a bake sale or a garage sale. Problem is, we sold everything we had to get to Nashville, so we couldn't do that. And then I couldn't bake, not even out of a box. But we're going to have a bake sale, kids. And I had these two little girls who were awesome bakers, and I thought that I would sell whatever they could make at night after school. But after we got into it, my oldest daughter let me know she really wasn't interested in my little bakery idea. And so she was going back to New Orleans, where we were from. And without her, my youngest daughter was not interested. And so I felt like I had told the world that I was opening up a bakery, so I had to keep my word. So bakery coming soon got splattered on the porch, and I began to dig and figure out what I was going to do to make cupcakes. That was 17 years ago.
Well, that guy on the TV or the radio that you were listening to tell you to do bake sales, was that Dave Ramsey?
That was Dave Ramsey. I consider him a friend of mine at this point because I've had to call on him, and had a chance to spend time on his platform with his team. And I had the best full circle moment when I got to go and be a fan, allow them to be a fan of those who were fans of them. So I got to speak to all of their employees at the beginning of one year and tell them my story and how they changed my life.
So you're listening to Dave Ramsey, a legend in the financial industry. He talks about being financially free, but you're essentially broke. You're worried about losing your house. You're down to your last couple bucks. I'm guessing that some of the stuff that he says, it's like, well, I definitely can't get rich. I'm not sure I can get out of this hole. But how did he inspire you?
So when I decided to call into the radio station, and there's a whole chapter about this in the book. I was nervous to call into the radio station because I have such a unique name. I felt like if anybody hears my name, they're going to know it's me, and that I don't have any money, and that I'm broke, and that I've done, but broke is so much more than I don't have the money right now. And I had made some really bad decisions. And I called him, and he was like a father. It it wasn't judgmental. It was, I understand what's happening to you. And he began to teach me in that moment about what I was experiencing. And he gave me ammunition. And what he let me know was that this company that I was dealing with was trying to steal my house from me. And I was like, I knew it. I knew that's what was happening. And he enlisted his right-hand guy at the time to give me advice, and they worked feverishly to try to help me save my house, and it just didn't happen. And they were disappointed and sad for me, but knew that something could happen. And I was disappointed and sad and felt like I was going to give up. But I believed that what was happening in that place was that God wanted to get the glory. And if Dave had done it, I'd be saying, Dave Ramsey did this for me. He changed my life. Everybody go follow Dave instead of everybody go follow God. And so in the end, God brought me out of that situation. You got to go read the book to find out what happened. But he really was like a confidant, felt like a confidant and a father in that moment.
Well, we had his daughter, Rachel Cruz, on the show on the Success is a Choice Podcasting Network. And I hated having her on because, well, I hated it because after that, I started doing a budget. She made me feel guilty. So I started doing a budget. But there's hope, because I think after talking to you, I'm going to be inspired to go eat cupcakes. So this is so much better than having Rachel Cruz on the show.
Well, I hope you want to eat our cupcakes, because there's something extremely special about the Cupcake Collection cupcakes. See, ours don't have any calories in them, as we believe that if love conquers all, it's got to include calories. So there's no calorie counting at the Cupcake Collection.
So it truly is a God thing. Your company truly is a God thing if you figured out how to make a cupcake with no calories. It's like what I tell myself every time I go to Chick-fil-A. Every time I go to Chick-fil-A, I tell myself this is God's
This
meal.
is Christian
and
chicken.
it's healthy. It's healthy when it's not, but
It's
I
Christian
rationalize.
chicken.
So that's how I'm going to feel when I'm eating your cupcakes. Now, I received the book from you guys, from R.H. Boyd Publishing Company, who did your publishing of your book. And I received this box, and just for a split moment, I was thinking, could they have sent me some mini cupcakes in this as well? So I was,
Oh man,
I was really excited to get the book.
Man, I was trying to figure that out, but usually the cupcakes follow.
Plus, they probably would have made the book a little dirty. But anyways, cupcakes. You had mentioned earlier that you couldn't even bake out of a box. You couldn't even like follow directions or make stuff. But you turned $5 into a multi-million-dollar cupcake business. How does someone who essentially can't bake or can't follow a recipe make the best cupcakes in Louisiana and Tennessee?
Yeah, because when you are hungry, you'll do whatever you have to do to eat. And so I applied science to my baking recipe, because baking is science, right? I was going to Xavier University in New Orleans to become a doctor. That was my goal. And I wanted to be a surgeon. I couldn't apply the science to the human body. I was flunking out of my science classes, and I knew that I would be in danger of losing my scholarship money. So when I find myself pregnant going into my sophomore year, I'm 17 years old, and I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to do now? Because nobody prepared me for what a college campus and the party was going to be like. And I was young, I went to school when I was 16, so I just really was unprepared. But 17 years later, in my kitchen in Nashville, when I'm trying to figure out how am I going to do what I'm hearing people scream about, which lets me know that it can be done, because I'm hearing these people scream, "We're debt free." And I wanted that. But I didn't know how to do what they were doing. And so in my kitchen, I called my grandmother on the phone and said, Grandma, I need a recipe. But my grandmother's response was, I don't have any recipes. She just would open up her hand and pinch this much together. And I was like, well, Grandma, tell me how to do it. And in the kitchen with grandma writing down everything she was saying, even my grandmother's ingredients were not ingredients I was familiar with. She's from the bayou. You know what I'm saying? And so my grandmother was like, "Okay, I think you guys call it something else in the city." And so she was telling me about these what I thought were ancient ingredients, but in the end, when I hung up with my grandmother and I look at the recipe, I had an aha moment that this was chemical reactions, that this was balancing chemical equations, the thing that I couldn't apply at Xavier in my chemistry courses and in the labs when I was watching all the other students run out, who are probably all doctors now today. They were running out of the lab because they got it and I didn't, and I would have to try to pretend that I got it because I was always the last one in there. And in my kitchen 17 years later, I had this aha moment like, why did they just say it like this? I mean, it was flour, butter, sugar, and eggs, but I could create chemical reactions. And that's how I made my first cake successfully. And it was from there that I began to build my own recipes. And all of the recipes are now mine. And the Cupcake Collection has been voted the best in Tennessee and Louisiana because I'm not a baker at all. I'm a chemical reaction maker. I'm a scientist. I am a sweet scientist. I'm making new cupcakes in the kitchen. But I'm not, I'm probably a mad scientist or maybe a joyful scientist, I would say.
Yeah. So one of your most famous cupcakes is the sweet potato cupcake. I am not a sweet potato fan. I'm sorry. I know, bless my heart. How can I not like sweet potatoes? But my wife is a big sweet potato fan. I am not.
Mhm.
But what was your first cupcake flavor? Was it just plain vanilla? Was it chocolate? Do you remember what was the first one you were
Yeah.
selling? I asked that. I asked that like you
Our first
remember,
one,
like you wouldn't remember.
I do. I do. My first cupcake that made me want to go into business was a lemon cupcake. I was going around the whole entire neighborhood, and when they would tear down one house, they'd put up 15. My market research was looking out my 8-foot window and saying, who's out there that will taste this and tell me if it's good? And it was a lemon drop cupcake that I bathed in a thin covering of powdered sugar frosting that I made out of lemon juice and powdered sugar. And they would come back and knock on my door and ask me if I could make more. Could they pay me for that? And it was the strangers who were coming back and knocking on my door that made me believe that I really did have something. I don't even
That's
make that one anymore because I couldn't even keep up. Nowadays, I might be able to keep up because now we have a little bit of a production line that we've created, and we have to make so many cupcakes that I modified my science background coming in. I modified a donut machine in order to help us scoop our cupcakes out faster.
But you
So
don't
maybe
sell
I can bring
donuts.
back the lemon cupcake.
But
I
you
sell
don't
those.
sell donuts. You don't sell donuts, but you
Mm-mm.
are a donut aficionado. You do like to eat a few
Yes,
donuts.
I
What is
think I
is
am looking for looking for the best. I'm looking for the best donut in the country right now. So if there's any other donut lovers out there who will work out for donuts like I will, send us all the information.
but that's actually a great, whether it's a business model or a great philosophy is, I mean, you can love something but not make it your business. You don't have to
Yeah.
spread yourself too thin. You are the cupcake queen. You are awesome. You stay in your lane. Not that you have to stay in your lane, but you're being the expert at cupcakes and you're being the expert at
Yeah. I'm
tasting
only
donuts.
trying to do what right. I'm only trying to do what I do best. I'm trying to not reinvent the wheel and only do what I do well. I'm leaving cookies to the cookie person. I'm leaving pie to the pie person. even though I do make a mean cookie. I'm not trying to sell that because that would be confusing to our customers if we're called the Cupcake Collection and we have cookies. I think that's been one of the things that has served me best is that even the name of our business was clear because we let people know what we were doing, even as we chose the name of our business. And I think a lot of times people choose these names that they love, and it's just like, well, what is that? I wanted it to be clear when somebody passed down the street what they were going to get at the Cupcake Collection.
Well, if you're in Narlands, if you're in Nashville, check them out. The cupcakecollection.com. Check out their locations, but you can also order online. The
Yep,
cupcakecollection.com. You also have a food truck.
we
You
ship
tool
them.
around town in a food
Yes.
truck.
Yes. Yes. So our food truck, we started out with the cupcake bus. It was the first dessert truck in Nashville, only the second food truck in the city. And people would chase down the cupcake bus, and we had these cupcake bus stops around town where you could just go to the bus stop and buy cupcakes off of it. So after it died, I could never find another thing that was interesting enough. But the cupcake bus kept winning all these awards, even though it had been gone for years. And so we thought, well, it's time to bring back the cupcake dress. So we went from a bus to a Benz, and now we're driving one of those Mercedes Sprinters around town selling cupcakes.
Well, very cool. You've been doing this for a few years now. What are some lessons you've learned? Like if you could go back in time, in the time machine, what would you have told yourself when you were first starting out, or some lessons that maybe we could take so we don't have to make the same mistakes if we're starting our own business, or not getting into cupcakes? We don't necessarily want to compete with you because you're the
Yeah.
queen, but maybe donuts or
Yeah.
cookies.
I would tell I would tell me that all I have is all I need to get from where am to where I want to be. I believe a lot of times we think we need a lot of big equipment, we need a degree. There's a study that says that over 94% of Americans are waiting for some major event to happen in order to start living. And I would say, I would tell myself to start right now, start from where I am, because I opened up the Cupcake Collection with a dorm size refrigerator and a KitchenAid mixer because that's what I had and that's what I could afford. I thought that I needed to have some big commercial size refrigerator, but there's a story that I tell in the book about the health inspector coming to visit because I had been 2 years working on this store. And he's like, listen, I need to help you get open in some kind of way. What are you doing? But he didn't know that I was selling cupcakes here and buying a spoon, selling cupcakes over there and buying a bowl. I was bootstrapping all the way. And I want to let people know who are listening right now that if success is a choice, then you have to be committed to that choice, even if it takes time. A lot of I'm a very spiritual and religious person, and so I will go to the Bible for a lot of my insight. And so the Bible, which was created in a farming community, talks a lot about sowing and planting. And so if the seed that is sown will take time before you get a harvest, then this idea that you have is a seed that's being sown, and it will take time for it to be harvested. And so it took me 2 years working every day like it was a job before the store ever even opened. And I think people often see success on TV or on YouTube and they think it's overnight. And it is overnight, but overnight takes 10 years. And I want people to know that there is time, I learned, that is required also. And so I opened up that store because the health inspector said, will this little dorm size refrigerator keep temperature? And I said, yes. He said, will it hold all of your ingredients, even if you've got to go to the store more than one time a day? I said, yes. He said, then open your store. And I think sometimes we're waiting to pull the trigger. And at the end of the day, pull the trigger because you might be surprised that there will be a net that will show up. And that's what happened for me. Sometimes I also thought that putting out a sign on the outside of my house meant that everybody knew that my bakery was coming soon. And they didn't. I thought that the line was going to be out the door because all my friends said that they were going to support it. And they did on day one. But think I was expecting my friends to run and tell the story and bring their friends back every day and the people who they worked with every day. But that was required of me. And that's the thing that I learned. Work is required of you. It's not going to be easy, but it will be worth it. And that's just a couple of things that I learned in starting my business. And I hope someone else will hear that I didn't have electricity on a regular basis. I didn't have water running out of the faucet on a regular basis. And I was living in what was becoming an affluent neighborhood, and none of my neighbors knew what I was dealing with on the day that my neighbor knocked on the door and asked me to make cupcakes for all of her clients. And when she offered me this opportunity, I went to God and said, God, really? You give me this opportunity when I don't have any money and I don't have a way to accept it. And I heard God say, but I feed birds though, and they don't toil and store up in barns. So how much more will I feed you who looks like me? So I got it in my spirit that God owed me something. Something was due to me. And again, another lesson that I learned that I wrote about in the book, that due is an adjective, an adverb, it's a noun. God is so eloquent that he can cover all the bases in one word. And so what I learned in believing that something was due to me, due is the amount, the exact amount is coming. And due is also at the exact right place, like due west or due north. It's coming at the exact right time, at the exact right place, in the exact right amount that is owed to you, what is due. And so when I went to the store believing that something is due to me, I went believing that I was going to receive it by the time that I finished this product. She paid me like she said she would. I only had $5 to my name. And if I gambled this money on her order and she didn't pay me, we weren't eating. But I had already secured that she would pay me today when I was done. And so she paid me like she said she would. Took that 5, I turned it into 60 that day. I took that 60 and turned it into 600 by the end of the week. And that has been the seed money that I've been flipping for 17 years into over $10 million. No banks, no loans, no experience in a business, no knowledge of what I was doing. I just believed God, and I believed that I had what it took to get what everybody else was getting. And I would say the final lesson that I would want to share without giving it all away right here on the podcast today is God is not a respecter of persons. So what you've seen him do for other people, it is available also to you. So the fact that I saw other people being successful and having bakery businesses and doing all these things, it was an indicator that I could have it too. And a lot of times we believe that it's not available to us, but it's also available to us. If you see somebody else having it, it means that you can have it too.
Well, it's very apparent listening to you that you have a lot of enthusiasm, you have a lot of joy in life, but it hasn't always been rainbows and butterflies. You know, you come from ancestors that were plantation,
Enslaved.
sugar can, yeah,
They were enslaved on a
plantation,
sugarcane plantation.
enslaved. You know, you were a teenage mother. You know, your husband left you while you were starting this business. You know, you've had all these things
After 21 years.
all this. Don't you know you're supposed to have a victim mentality? You're supposed to feel sorry for yourself. It doesn't sound like you're doing that. You're supposed to be a victim in life when bad things happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you doing that?
Mm-hmm. Again, it goes back to what I believed. Faith is believing in who told you that it would happen. I believed God. I listened to who I could trust. And I had looked in the Bible and all of the promises that were available to me. I went back and I said, okay, God, you said that if I do this, this would happen. And there's a Bible verse that says, try me. And I'm watching all these women walk around with church. Thou shalt not try me. You better try God. Like don't try to force me, but go try that with God. And I believed what God was saying to me. It is easy to become a victim, but there's a Bible verse that I decided to tack onto, and it says, "Count it all joy when you experience trials of many kinds, knowing that your trials produce perseverance, and your perseverance, when it is mature and complete, you will lack nothing." And that's what I was looking for. I was looking that every time something bad went wrong, I said, "Okay, God, I know you said that there is some joy in this. So let me look for the lesson." And what I've learned in the process was that you either win or you learn. There are
Mm.
no losses. If you learn, then you didn't lose. That means you still won. So it's win win. And I started getting that in my spirit. I got a hold to this concept of helping a chicken hatch. Again, something else that I wrote in this book. You can't help a chicken hatch. It is the adversity that the chicken has to go through from the inside that causes that chicken to thrive. But if you were to pick up an egg that you saw trying to hatch on the side and you decided to knock the shell off of that egg, that chicken is going to die. So it was
Mm.
the harder things that I had to go through that produced the person that I am on this side.
Well, you had mentioned earlier, just do it, just start. And a lot of times we sabotage ourselves or we shoot ourselves in the foot. And I see this all the time with let's say writing a book. A lot of people have a book in
Mhm,
them and they're like, "Oh, I don't
mhm.
know. I can't write, or I can't do that. I can't, no one would read it or whatever." Well, you put out this book made from scratch. Uh Very cool book. You just did it. You didn't wait
Yeah.
much longer. You just said, "Hey, let's get this word out. Let's tell this story to help other people." How was the process of writing that book? And
Yeah. It took me 2 years to get that book out of me. It's my own story, and it was hard to write because you're gonna be vulnerable when you're writing a memoir about your life. But what I learned is that if you don't tell people the story, they're gonna make up a story for you. And I wanted to be the author of the story about my life and what it was that took me from there to here. And I was listening to some of the things that people were saying, "Oh yeah, she had to close that store because she got a divorce." That is not what happened. Our store was doing well. We were in the black. I made a decision to take care of my child so that he could have his mother. That's why. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't give people the story, they're going to make up a story for you. So I wanted to give people the story so that they could know what they could do if they also believe. That was my promise to God. God, if you will make me successful, I will tell anyone who will listen about what they can do if they believe. And that's what this book is. It is a playbook to tell you how to build your business from scratch, to how to start from scratch. Because what I learned in the process was the name of the book even was a godsend. I believed that I had clawed my way through some things. I scratched my way from the ground to the top, right? And then in the process, I got broken and I got bruised. I got scratched up. And sometimes you want to pick at that scratch until it becomes infected. And that was my life. And at the same time, just as I was finishing this book, I learned that the scratch line is where you start a race from. That where the runners take their mark is called the scratch line. And what God showed me in the process was this race you've been running, I've been building you from scratch. From the beginning, I was there with you and I promised that I would never leave you and I would never leave you alone. And so from scratch, without scratch, God was there building me into what it was that he wanted me to be.
well, she's Mignon Francois, and the Cupcake Collection.com, the Cupcake Collection.com. Go out, get as many cupcakes as you want because they have no calories. Check out our disclaimer at the bottom. No calorie cupcakes. That is the perfect God food to eat. But the Cupcake Collection.com. We really appreciate your inspirational story. We appreciate your time joining us today. And for all of you out there, thanks for joining us as well. Share this show. This can be an inspiration to a lot of people. You can probably think of somebody right away that might need to hear this story, whether they're playing, a victim in life to their circumstances, and they need to kind of overcome that, or whether they want to start their own business, or whatever. Just people that want to be successful. This is a great story. Get the book, Made from Scratch. Check out the book. But the cupcakecollection.com is where you can get the cupcakes, and check that out. Where can they follow you on social media? What's the best place that you would direct them to on social media?
Yeah, they can find me on Mignon.Francois. That's MIGNON FRANCOIS on Instagram. That's the place where I'm most active, and Facebook as well. And then they can buy the book on Amazon. We just made the number one bestseller for new releases on last week. So we're really excited about that. And it is another indicator that the voice inside your head that's telling you cannot is a liar.
Awesome. Well, go out, share this show with a friend. But until next time, remember that success is a choice. What choice will you make today?